open this. He had picked up the same passenger 3 times now, always at the same stop outside the cemetery gates, always quiet, always paying the exact fare in advance. When he arrived at the address and turned to confirm payment, the back seat was empty, the money still there, exact change. He has stopped being surprised by this. He has started wondering what happens on the night the passenger asks him to wait. Don't stop for anyone waiting outside cemetery gates tonight. It is time for chapter 179. Overnight taxi drivers develop a particular relationship with the late hours, the specific quality of streets after most people have gone home, the particular kinds of fares that appear at 2 and 3 in the morning, the exhausted, the intoxicated, the genuinely lost. Most overnight drivers have collected a store of unusual encounters across enough years of the work. Most such encounters have ordinary explanations, however strange they seem in the retelling. This driver's encounter did not resolve into an ordinary explanation, simply repeated 3 times so far, with the particular consistency of something that has found an arrangement it intends to maintain. A taxi driver had been working overnight shifts for several years. He knew his route thoroughly, the particular patterns of late-night fares, the streets that produced business at specific hours, the quiet stretches where he simply waited for the radio to bring him something. The stop outside the cemetery gates was not unusual in itself. A legitimate taxi stand positioned there for the practical reason that the road serves several neighborhoods beyond the cemetery grounds. He had picked up passengers there before. The particular passenger he wants to tell you about first appeared on an ordinary Tuesday night. A woman, well-dressed, standing at the stand as though she had been waiting some time. She gave an address across town, paid the fare in advance, exact change precisely counted, sat quietly in the back seat for the entire drive. The drive itself was unremarkable. The passenger said nothing beyond the initial address, sat with the particular stillness of someone comfortable with silence. The driver, accustomed to late-night passengers of every temperament, thought nothing more of it than a quiet fare, easier than most. He arrived at the address, turned to confirm the passenger had everything she needed before departing. The back seat was empty. He sat for a moment, confused, checking his mirrors, checking that he had not somehow missed the passenger exiting. The doors were locked as they had been throughout the drive, his standard practice for overnight fares. The exact fare, precisely counted, sat undisturbed on the armrest cushion where the passenger had placed it at the start of the ride. If these stories have found their way to you, if you find yourself returning to this quiet room, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. It tells me, and whatever else watches from this room, that you were here and that you intend to find your way back. If you have a story of your own, Granny is always listening, watching, waiting. He told himself that first time that he had simply missed something, a moment of distraction, a passenger quicker and quieter than he had registered. The second occurrence, several weeks later, made this explanation considerably harder to maintain. Same stop, same woman, well-dressed, waiting with the same patient stillness. Same exact fare, precisely counted, paid before departure. Same address, different this time, but delivered with the same quiet politeness. Same empty back seat upon arrival, same undisturbed fare on the seat cushion. He drove home after his shift that morning and sat in his own kitchen for a long time. Shock coy, the memory of the fare in his hand, cold in a way that exact change, counted carefully by living fingers, should not have been. I wonder if the same passenger appeared at the same stop for the third time and you recognized them immediately, would you stop or would you drive past? If you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening. The third occurrence happened last month. He recognized the passenger immediately when he pulled up to the stand, the same well-dressed woman waiting with the same stillness. He stopped. He is not entirely certain why, given what he now understood about the first two occurrences. Perhaps professional habit. Perhaps something closer to curiosity or obligation, or the particular respect that develops for a regular customer, regardless of what category of regular they belong to. The passenger entered, gave the address, paid the exact fare, sat quietly through the drive. Arrived, vanished, left the money undisturbed on the armrest. The driver sat in his taxi outside the third address for a long time before continuing his shift. And Danya, he told me. That's right indeed. 3 times now, always exactly the same. You are still here. Good. Some stories need a witness all the way to the end. I wonder, on the night this passenger finally asks the driver to wait, what do you think would happen when she returned to the car? He has continued working the overnight shift, has continued stopping at the cemetery stand when fares present themselves there, has not, as of the telling of this story, encountered the passenger a fourth time. He told me he thinks about it during quiet stretches of his shift, wonders whether there will be a fourth occurrence and a fifth, and how many times this particular arrangement is meant to repeat. Wonders, more specifically, about a detail that has begun to trouble him more than the vanishing itself. Each of the 3 addresses, he eventually realized, checking his records, formed a pattern, 3 points that, connected, suggested a specific location the passenger seemed to be working toward reaching, a location he has not yet delivered her to. He wonders on quiet nights what happens if the passenger's next request is not a new address across town, but instead simply wait here, and what he would find, if he did, when he eventually looked back. Some fares are working toward something. I have found this true of considerably more than taxi passengers. I think about the exact fare, counted precisely, paid before every journey, about a passenger who asks nothing beyond an address, who sits with the stillness of someone who has done this particular routine many times, who vanishes not dramatically but simply completely between one glance and the next. And I think about the pattern the driver noticed, Three addresses forming when connected, the suggestion of a destination not yet reached. As though each ride is one segment of a longer journey, broken into pieces small enough that a living driver could manage them without fully understanding what he was participating in. The exact fare paid each time, the precise politeness, the patient willingness to be driven part way again and again toward wherever the full journey actually leads. Ndanya. Some journeys take considerably longer than a single fare should require. I have taken a few like that myself. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. If you drive overnight and you stop at a cemetery stand for a well-dressed elderly passenger who pays the exact fare in advance and sits quietly through the drive, take them where they ask. Do not be alarmed when you arrive and turn to find the back seat empty, the money precisely counted and undisturbed on the cushion. Simply continue your shift, and if this passenger appears again and again, begin noting the addresses, because they may form a pattern. Points along a longer journey that a single fare cannot complete. And if the night comes when this passenger, instead of giving a new address, asks you simply to wait, consider carefully before you agree, because you may be the first driver across however many previous fares this pattern has required who is asked to complete the final segment. And what waits at the end of that particular journey may not be a destination. You are prepared, however many years of overnight driving you have logged, to actually witness. If this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting. And if you wish others to find their way here too, there is something small you can do. Like and subscribe. I would not object. And if you have a story of your own, this quiet room has space for your experiences too. Granny is always listening.